Hi, I am Liu Jingkai from DISM 2801, and in this video I'll be going through some of the key features from practicals 1 to 3. As you can see, these will be some of the key features that I'll be going through for each practical. And without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So for practical 1, there will be two key features that will be shown. The first key feature is the setup of the ADDS, DHCP, and DNS services on the primary domain controller. And the second key feature is the joining of a Windows 10 client to the domain. For the first key feature, we can see that under the server manager, the ADDS, DHCP, and DNS services are fully running. And under the DHCP manager, we can see that there is an address pool which assigns a range of IP addresses to any client who wishes to join the domain. And under the DNS manager, we can see that it is fully ready to be configured. Now, moving on to the second key feature. Under the local server of the server manager, we can see that the domain has a domain name of smw.soc.com and that the domain is running. And we can also see that under the DHCP manager in address leases, you can see that a client of IP of 192.168.174.129 has joined the domain. And to verify this, we'll be going on to our Windows 10 client and logging in as a domain admin to verify that this Windows 10 client is a member of the smw.soc.com domain. Now as you can see that we have logged into the client, we can go to the settings and check that the client is actually a member of the smw.soc.com domain. And as you can see, it is in fact a member of the smw.soc.com domain. And so that concludes the end of practical 1 key features. Now moving on to practical 2, there will be 3 key features that will be shown. The first key feature that will be shown is the best practice analyzer scan, also known as a BPA scan, which can be done on the server manager of your domain controller and by clicking task to start a BPA scan. This will take about 5 to 10 minutes, and what this does is that it determines if the server roles installed or configured on the domain controller follow the guidelines recommended by Microsoft. It will then give you a report of the following misconfigurations, the severity of the misconfigurations, as well as information on how to resolve this misconfiguration. And so I'll be showing you how to resolve one of the misconfigurations right here, which is that the server IPv4 address should be excluded from all scopes in the DHCP. To do this, I'll be going to the DHCP manager under the scope and address pool. I'll right click and select a new exclusion range. And then I will type in my server IPv4 address. Once that's done, I'll click add. And then as you can see here, I've already excluded my server IPv4 address from the scope. And this should fix the problem. Now, moving on to the second key feature of the practical, which is the creation of a domain user account. First, under the server manager, click on Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers, right-click Users, and select User right here to start creating your own domain user account. Now notice that the users must change their password at the next logon, and that is because newly created accounts have default passwords, and anyone that knows the default password will be able to access these newly created accounts. As this helps to prevent that from happening. Now moving on to the last key feature, which is the managing of an organization unit. I'm now logged on to the domain controller using my previously created domain account. And under the Active Directory Users and Computers, I've already created an organization unit called Sales OU. By right clicking on it and clicking on Delegate Control, I'm now able to delegate the control of Sales OU to my previously created domain account. I'm now gonna give this domain account the ability to reset user passwords and force password change at the next logon. Once that is done, I can right click on a user under the sales OU and click on reset password. Now I have the ability to reset this user's password, and that is done. Now I can sign out of this account and prove that the user1 password has been resetted. That concludes the end of the key features of Practical 2. Lastly, for Practical 3, I'll be going through another 3 key features. The first key feature is the configuration of shared folder permissions. And as you can see, I'm now logged in into the Windows Server 2012 VM. And under this PC and documents, I have this shared folder called document.jk. By going to the properties and clicking on the sharing tab, I'm able to see the network share path. And when I click on share, I'm able to see that the domain MGR's group, which consists of the domain user account MGR1, has the permission of read and write, whereas the everyone group has the permission of read. When I click share, I'm able to share this folder over the network, and I'm able to verify this by going on to my Windows 10 VM to see that if the folder is there. As you can see, I'm now inside the document.jk folder, and I'm now currently logged in as MGR1 account on my Windows 10. I will now create a new file, and I'm able to write into the file. However, I will now be using another account to try to write into the file. Let's say staff1 account. Now as you can see, as staff1, I'm able to access the shared folder as well as read the shared file. However, when I try to write into the shared file, I do not have access to it, as the everyone group only has read access. Hence, this shows that staff1 is unable to write in the shared folder. The next key feature I'll be going through is the auditing of the shared file access. As you can see, under the local security policy, audit policy, I've enabled the auditing success and failure for audit object access. And under the shared folder that was used for the previous key feature, I've enabled everyone to be able to read the auditing. As such, going to Tools, Event Viewer, Windows Log, and Security, I'm able to now filter out for the audit failure that was made on MGR test file by staff1 from the previous key feature. I'm going to select a custom range of time from when that happened. And then now I'm going to set the keywords to audit failure. When I press OK, I'll be able to see that the audit failure for staff1 on the mgr test.txt and under the document.jk shared folder has been logged in to the event viewer. Hence, this shows the ability to audit a shared file access. Lastly, for the third key feature of Practical 3 I'll be going through is the use of Powershell for domain enumeration. What this does is that it allows a regular domain user account with no special administrative rights to be able to access domain information using the Powershell tool. Currently, I'm logged into my MGR1 user account in my Windows 10 VM, and I will open up the PowerShell command prompt. Once I'm in the PowerShell command prompt, I will copy this first line of statement right here, which will basically allow me to create a domain object. Once that is done, I will execute the second line of statement over here, which allows me to execute the get current domain method in order to get domain information. Once this is done, I can search for domain information such as the list of domain user accounts and the list of domain computer objects. This is to get the list of domain user accounts. As you can see, there's domain user account staff1, mgr1, and a few other domain user accounts. And these are the computer objects that are in the domain. As you can see, this will be my domain controller, This will be my Windows 10 client, and this will be my Windows Server 2012. This marks the end of the key features shown for practical 3. And thus, we have come to the end of the video. Thanks for watching.